Welcome to episode number 46 of About the Cards podcast, live tonight on YouTube. As always, with me, my co-host, Ben Wilson at our trading cards. Missing in action is at Junkwax twin Stefan Loeffler. If anybody sees him, let us know. We haven't found him. So yeah, Steph, if you're out there, give us a holler, buddy. Hop on in. We are podcasts by collectors for collectors, hoping to bring you a smart, insightful podcast discussing trading card collecting. We're live every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on YouTube, 10 Central. And you can follow us on Twitter at About the Cards. We're always available on iTunes, Stitchers, and YouTube. And check out our website, aboutthecards.wordpress.com, where we'll have articles, checklists, releases, release calendar, and we'll also have our thoughts and reviews on product. We have an article that will be posted later this week that we all contributed to, which I'm very excited about. And I think that we fixed the issue with the downloads. I know that iTunes was having an issue downloading episodes, but I think I refreshed everything and got it to work. So hopefully tomorrow we'll know if it worked or not. Ben, what's up, buddy? I missed you last week. We had that special episode on Sunday with Ben Guar at our at Cardboard Icons. The best, like we said, the best Ben we've ever had on the show.
That's correct.
Yeah. So how are you doing today, bud?
It's hard to go up against an icon. I mean, I'm just a trading card guy, right? Yeah. But he's an icon. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's self-proclaimed or not. I mean, he is.
Yeah, I mean, that self-proclaimed name actually is very fitting for him, so.
No, that was fantastic to actually have him on. We've been talking about it for so long, and it was finally good to be able to nail down a time where we can all get together and chat. And I'd love to have him on again because, like so many of the other people that we've had on before, whether it be Tanner Jones or Ryan Cracknell, we've just scratched the surface of the knowledge and the resource that these people can be.
No, definitely. And, he was one of, and he didn't believe me when I told him that he was one of the first people we wrote down when we wanted to have people on the show. And he was like, dude, you just know you're full of it. He was truly blown away. And it's like, hey, no, like besides, I think really like early on, besides you, he was one of the first guys. And then, Charles was another guy. Southwest Las Vegas guy was one. Like I think I've said this before. They were like, you guys were first the few that I really hooked up with on Twitter and kind of to help get back into the hobby, which was, at the time I wasn't sure how it was going to go, and it's been a great ride ever since. So,
yeah, no, and his interaction with everybody in the hobby and just his knowledge base, and he's one of, I'd say, a select few that we would put on that list of, I have a problem. Who do I turn to who might know? And even if it's, again, Ryan or Chris Olds is another one that's a great resource, who we also spoke about during that interview and stuff. And there's a small handful. If it's breaking stuff or pack odds, obviously Brent Williams, and it's a short list. And if those people don't know, if Ben doesn't know, he knows somebody that knows. And that's what's great about this hobby too, is it's a community, a family that, we're all a part of. And, if somebody, a newer person comes, we can find you an answer. It may not be from us, but, you pass the buck along to somebody that's a little smarter and, a little bit more adept at certain things. If it's a printing thing, obviously Vosbrink's our guy. So
it's something crazy. Steph's the guy, and he just hopped in the chat. He goes, the power's out, internet's out, phone won't connect. So no nice. Steph, it looks like. So there's a storm down in Texas. It's a brewing. Maybe it's Jerry Jones. He's upset because the Cowboys had a pretty uneventful, crappy draft. So I do want to touch a little bit real quick on the NFL draft before we get in here, because I wasn't on last week, and I know you guys touched a little bit about it. It's not going to be a super great year for football collecting. Kyler Murray is going to dominate. Daniel Jones, I think the jury's going to be out on him for quite some time. You look, you know, I don't know, Josh Jacobs going to the Raiders. He's not a huge name at this point. Running backs usually don't carry the value. You had one first-round receiver, and he goes to the Patriots, and they haven't developed a receiver. I don't know. It's been a long, long time. Michael Timpson, maybe. Terry Glenn. We're talking early 90s with the Patriots developing receivers. Not since Belichick's been there. So there's not a ton of, Dwayne Haskins with the Redskins. I mean, if these first-round quarterbacks can carry, but, I mean, I look at Daniel Jones, and all I think is Blake Bortles. Overdrafted.
No, but he is New York, so he's going to sell. And he is a top six quarterback.
But I don't know, because the New York fans were so pissed and angry that they drafted him. I think that's not – I think that's going to affect him, and I don't know. So we'll have to see, but I'm just saying overall – when you're running backs and receivers, the other positions that usually help float up a draft class or second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh undrafted people, undrafted players, it's going to hurt a little bit. I kind of see a 2013 feeling here with this class.
You know, and honestly, this kind of creates a kind of a black eye on the hobby as a whole, right? Especially with collecting football. It goes to show, we were talking about this a while back. I was talking to this with my dad quite a while back, how offensive linemen and defensive linemen, even linebackers, they're not sexy in the hobby. You know, even running backs, once they a year or two later, I think our friends over at Mojo Brick were talking about that, where you could get an Alvin Kamara, you know, RPA for like, you know, $50 at that time. You know, even though when they were speaking about it, you would think that they would be $150 cards. They just lose value so quick. And collecting football, you're either a quarterback or you're not.
Yeah.
Yes, running backs and receivers can be a little sexy, but not really.
Yeah, Le'Veon Bell, you know, one of the best players in football. I know he sat out last year, but his card value there isn't a lot there. A guy I want to bring up real quick. I want to move on to our show, but Thomas Rawls, he was an undrafted guy. He was in contenders. At one point, his contenders auto is ridiculous. He gets hurt and then disappears, and then, you know, now it's in a $2 bin, right? So, football is a different beast. And again, these quarterbacks, I don't think are compared till next year when Tua comes out. Herbert, there's a handful of other guys. I know I'm personally collecting just Jonah Williams from my high school. We also had a quarterback from my high school, Jake Browning from UW. He signed as an undrafted free agent with the Vikings. He's in Score and a couple other products. I'm happy to see that. I'm going to pick some of his up. So he got the highest deal of any undrafted guy. He got like $150,000 to sign with the Vikings, which is a really good. I mean, that's a pretty nice offer for being undrafted.
Yeah, but this draft had a lot of talent, a lot of depth.
Yeah, it's just not collectable guys. You know, offensive and defensive linemen don't sell or don't collect.
It's a reflection of the hobby.
Yeah.
You know, but there was a guy that called
fantasy football.
We get on so many tangents here, and I know we're trying to cut back, but real quick, somebody calls into Sirius Radio the other day complaining about the 49ers taking a punter in the 5th round or whatever it was. And he's like, oh, there was this, that, and the other thing on the board, and how dare them. And Charlie Weiss lit him up, and he's like, man, that's a defensive player right there. A punter is a defensive player because of field position.
Yep.
And he goes, he's extremely valuable. As a Raider fan, yeah, Shane Leckler, always. I mean, had we had any team around him, of course, but he was always putting the other team in a difficult position. But you're not running out buying these guys, and that's one of those things that next year's draft class is going to be phenomenal for collecting. This year's kind of meh.
Yeah.
But if you look at it from a team building standpoint, not card collecting,
yeah, it was a crazy good year for your GM.
But
so
that's not how the hobby looks at it. And the thing is, just to your point about Thomas Rawls, what's a baseball equivalent of a guy like that? You know, would it be like a Ben Zobrist? Somebody who's
no, because at least he had a career. I mean, Rawls has kind of just vanished. It would be kind of like maybe like a Kevin Moss, right? He came up, he was on fire, and then all of a sudden he was poof, he was gone.
Yeah, I was just trying to think, because in baseball, I think that a player like that would still be a little collectible, have some type of value. It's tough to say. Yeah. And
so
then Go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna move into the week that was.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, the week that was last week's releases, Topps Living week 59. I wasn't on the show, and I do owe Ben $10. We did make a friendly wager because Tatis didn't sell 30,000 or whatever I said. So I get a fun prediction for this week. So Topps Living, Jim Palmer, all Orioles sold over 3,200. Pete Alonso of the Mets, the rookie, sold almost 8,700. Tim Beckham 2,700. Check out Topps Living Stat at Topps Living Stat on Twitter for a full breakdown of where these cards fall respectively in the set by team and by position. I picked up a couple of Alonsos. I think there was some chatter going on about the Jim Palmer, and it was not a great photo. I think a later photo of him would have been maybe a little better. And I thought, and just as I was on last week, Tim Beckham's kind of a weird one, but former number 1 overall pick on his third team. We also had 2019 Panini Contenders Draft Picks Football, 2018-19 Panini National Treasures Basketball. Good lordy, that was expensive. 18-19 O-Pee-Chee Platinum Hockey, 2019 Sage Hit High Series, 2018 Leaf Metal Perfect Game All-American Baseball. That is a mouthful. Hopping into the hot off the presses, this week's new releases, week 60 of Topps Living, card 178, Xander Bogaerts, superstar shortstop of the Boston Red Sox, who are falling apart, but God, they were beating on the A's. Card 179, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., rookie third baseman, Toronto Blue Jays, and card 180, rolling out the week, Nelson Cruz, DH for those Minnesota Twins. Jake has already sold 250 plus Vladdies. I know I picked up a full few. It tells me that he's going to be our first 100,000 card guy. I'm telling you right now, put it down, Vlad Guerrero, 100,000 Topps Living. Over, said, done. Moving on. No, I think they're hopping on the right week. Kuna was the record. He is number 1. And I'm grabbing that number now at 46,809. 46,809. Do you think Vlad touches that?
Well, his Topps Now sold what? Just over 17,000 for his MLB debut. Topps Now.
Well, yeah, a little spoiler alert. Yeah.
Well, it's maybe a spoiler, but it's relevant because if that's the bar, then how much more does he sell in Topps Living? Topps Now does tend to outsell Living. I mean, it's a daily thing, but when there's a big prospect, I think 17 is the bar. I do think it probably gets close to 30, maybe eclipse 30, but I don't think it comes anywhere near Acuna. I honestly don't.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But it's just fun. 100,000. I think I said today in the preview, $1 million.
Let's do that.
Yeah, $1 million. Yeah. We also had, and this is one of my, this is an underrated product right here, I'm telling you. 2019 Panini Score Football came out today. $100 a box, 10 packs per box, 40 cards per pack. So 400 cards for your $100. You're going to get 4 autographs, 36 inserts. You're going to get 10 parallels and 1 stamp buyback. It's a 440 card base set, so you're going to need 2 boxes to make a set. There's 110 rookies. You're going to get 96 of them in a box. They're going to be in their college uniforms, and this year's design is eerily familiar with the famous 89 design. Now, I love this product, one, because it's the first kind of like football release of the year. Now, the rookies, again, unfortunately, because they have the autographs in here already, the draft just happened. It's a generic rookie card, but it's a clean rookie card. It's kind of harkens back to those 89 rookie cards, and with autographs of these players right away, and you're going to get the first autos of them. Most are going to be sticker, but it's a really good way to kind of like ease into the football collecting season. And they have those parallels in there, and some of those are sharp. I bought into a break last year, ended up with the Giants, didn't get a Barkley auto, but in a case break, I think I ended up with like 14 Barkley rookie cards. So I mean, I was happy.
Well, on the heels of Contenders, too, it is a different type of flagship. I know that we've kind of said that football has 3 or 4. The difference between this versus, say, a baseball version would be the baseball version would have these guys in their AA, AAA uniforms, right? Unless it's straight out of college, which, of course, would be then a Bowman product. But all these guys being in their college digs is not a big deal because so many of the football collectors probably have loyalties to certain colleges. So we've said this before, it translates well in football.
It does. It's probably
really
better than most other sports.
Basketball might be a distant 1B, but basketball can be there as well. But then again, you have all the one and dones, so you don't really have a whole lot of, I'm a Duke fan. Well, Zion was there for the blink of an eye. It wasn't like he was a 4-year starter like a lot of these NFL players tend to be, at least 3 years, of course, because of the rule.
Yeah, no, it's, and like I said, I mean, I haven't bought a lot of it lately just because I've kind of stopped collecting football altogether. But it is, I saw some today. I ran into the hobby store today, the LCS, and saw some. I saw a guy busting a box, and it was a decent looking product. And there was a question in the chat if there's blasters. There usually is for Score. They should have some retail blasters of Score out there. With this kind of a product, usually is so. And it's one that you can sometimes too, is Bean says clearance. So sometimes these don't all get picked up, and usually you can turn around and maybe grab them for $13 or $14 later on.
It's a really good set builder set. I used to love putting Score together. Really good photos. Really
110 rookies too. You're getting offensive, defense. You're getting the whole barrage of the rookies this year. So you're pretty much getting all the rookies except for kickers and punters.
Yeah, I mean that's the first 3 rounds of the draft, more or less. 3.5 rounds. Roughly.
So we also have 18-19 Leaf Ultimate Hockey, $170, 1 pack per box, 3 cards per pack. You're going to get 3 autos, indoor mem cards. It's a premium product. The checklist contains only autographs and memorabilia cards from both current and retired hockey guys, NHL players. And all the cards in the product come with serial numbers, and none of them are higher than 20. So some of the patches that were in here were ridiculous. I mean, some of them are popping out of the card on some of the preview shots I saw. So again, it's one of those high-level Leaf products coming out because I forget the brand that they purchased a few years back from the other Brian. Remember? I wish Steph was here because my brain is faltering me. But there was another Brian in Canada that had a hockey card company, and they weren't licensed. And Leaf ended up buying them out. So they have merged and gotten to use a lot of their product, a lot of the men they had. So.
Steph's still in the chat room. I'm sure he'll pop up soon.
In the game. Yeah, it was in the game, Steph, in the game. I don't know. I don't remember the other Brian's name, but they've come together. They took over, and so they've come out with some really cool stuff. So we love talking hockey. Those are the only 2 releases this week. There was a lot of entertainment, non-sport stuff, but So next week, what's brewing? Next week's release is just a couple, but some good. I think some really good ones. 18-19 Panini Spectra Basketball is always popular, and then 2019 Topps Tier 1 Baseball. So our first entry into a higher level baseball product this year hits the shelves. So that'll be fun. And I know that Ben's already working his checklist, and he's gotten all of his quarters lined up so he can go and buy his Ramon Laureanos and Greg Dietrichs or whoever else you have, or Diegmans, or.
I'll probably stay out of Tier 1 mostly. I'll probably pick and choose a couple cards off there to pick.
Is that because you're a Tier 3 collector?
I am. I'm probably tier dollar store.
This week's show is actually brought to you by Dr. Pepper.
I need to cut back on buying and quick stop because that's what I've got over here. Late night icy.
There we go.
As if I need one.
Hey, sometimes.
But no, I gotta stay away from Tier 1 and museum and triple threads and stuff. How many Chris Davis autos do you need? I need to start focusing that money back to my PC. But I love Tier 1. It's one of my more favorite.
My favorite thing with the 3 brands you just mentioned, museum, Tier 1, and triple threads, is I always wait a while. Because those guys have bust the product, right? They spend a pretty nice penny on it, and then they pull out what they want, or the big hits, and then they just have to get rid of the rest. to kind of recoup some of the money. I've picked up Giants and Royals stuff for $1 or $2 shipped. And I'm talking stupid cards, like cards that are awesome to see. And, it's something I don't ever like actively look for, but that's what I love to do. And then, I've seen guys bust this stuff and they just go, this was a crap box. And they just walk away and they just leave it all there because they didn't hit the XYZ player of the week. So
when I first got into collecting, again, triple threads was like $50 a pack for an inner. So it's $200 a box. You got 4 inners that year. And every inner had a hit. And I wanted so bad to open up a pack, but I could not justify spending $50. It just wasn't in the budget. But I hopped on eBay and all day long I was grabbing all kinds of guys for $6, $8, $10, $12 a piece. Grabbing 4 or 5 autos for the same $50. And again, I wasn't an A's collector back then.
And you're getting exactly what you wanted.
So it was just cool to have. Yeah, I was like, I'll go grab all the quote unquote scrubs because there was a lot of good players in there. And I probably grabbed a dozen of them, like the Mark Teixeira type guys that, he was a $6 card and that's what it was.
Yeah.
And again, not being an A's collector, I was just buying what I liked at the time. But man, the value in there was ridiculous because nobody wanted that stuff.
Yep. So we'll talk a lot more about Tier 1 next week, but I'm excited. We're moving to Infield chat or our hobby talk section. We have some good stuff going on today, some informational stuff, I think. And then we also have, I think some good points have been brought up in the hobby, and we're going to get our 2 cents or $8 worth. But first, the 2019 Topps Walgreens Yellow Parallels have been seen in stores and on eBay, but be prepared to pay up. Good Lordy. Woo! I saw that Cardboard Icons came out. Cardboard Icons came out today and was posted Clayton Kershaw I was looking to pick up at like $12. I looked up for Garrett Hampson and he was like $10 or best offer. But a really friendly collector has Larry has actually pulled one and said it was coming my way. So I'm quite excited about that. And I appreciate that. That's the hobby love. It's like, hey, it needs to go to you and I'll send it to you. But the prices have been nuts.
Yeah, they're not too bad. I don't know if you can see them with the glare.
There you go. Hold them right. Yeah. They're sharp cards, and the purple are ridiculous too. Those the Mayor ones, those were neat this year too. I
didn't do the opening day ones because it was just too expensive. Most of the yellow ones I've got for anywhere from $4 to $7. There's 12 A's on the checklist, so it's a $60 team set. I'm still missing 2, but we found out that it looks like there's 27 cards in a pack. You're going to get 6 yellows, and it's $10 for the pack. So it's a good way to pick up some cards if you're still looking to piece them together. Sport Lots has quite a few players listed for about $3 a piece. There's not a ton listed on the checklist yet, but and you can find them in the seasonal section. Apparently, is where you're going to want to look.
Yeah,
if you go into Walgreens. So
just kind of crazy. But again, this is the time, guys. If you're looking to get these into your PC, this is the time to do it. And so it sucks, but to pay up a little bit. But the thing is that there are quite a few more. I think we talked about there's 10 times the amount of stores. I mean, there was almost 10,000 Walgreens stores compared to the few hundred. I think we talked about this last time. Mayor's stores that are around. So, and it's a nationwide chain. So you do have that going for you, but they are still going to be a little harder to pick up. And I think once we get through the season, they're going to be even harder because people are going to they're going to throw them in a box and forget about them because they didn't do anything with them at the time. So.
I honestly thought they were going to be more expensive in the $10 to $15 range due to the fact that most people aren't buying flagship anymore. But most of them have been fairly reasonable.
Yeah.
And if you're getting 6 for a pack of 10, that's the difference. I honestly thought you were only going to get 2 like you were getting in the Meyer packs.
Yeah. Well, that's good to hear. So I haven't personally seen any, but I mean, I haven't actively looked. I think I was in Walgreens recently on last Thursday, and I looked and I didn't see any, and so.
There are about 400 or so cards listed on eBay right now. But you're right. If you're after a particular player, or if you're looking to build a team set, you're going to want to do it soon.
Sooner than later, yeah.
And I'm missing 2, so I hope they surface eventually.
Yep. So Vlad Guerrero, Vlad Guerrero Jr., we talked about him earlier. He made his major league debut the other day against, I think, a AAA team. Plays in the majors, the Oakland Athletics. And
playing it that way.
Are they better than the Red Sox, though? I mean, the Red Sox are pretty pitiful. But the Red Sox did do some damage today.
The A's pitching staff is atrocious, and we knew that was a big deal. And then they came in after the 2 in Japan and were awesome for like 6 days, and everybody's like, "Oh, we're not that bad." And it's we are.
Top sent a tweet out. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is already breaking records. The Blue Jays rookie debut Topps Now card is the all-time best-selling card in the program. Vlad Jr. sold 19,396, which beat Ohtani last year by over 2,000. And Aaron Judge came in third. He is about 16,000, so about 3,000 more, a little over 3,000 more than Judge. Also, Carter Keyboom and Michael Chavis also came up recently, and Keyboom hit a game-tying home run with his first hit. I know Chavis has played pretty well, and I heard somebody said Wally pipped Dustin Pedroia, so I thought that was interesting. Also, Nick Senzel and Luis Robert, or Robert, I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name, but I like Robert. Sometimes I call my son Robert. They're coming up as well. So real quick, it's great to see all these guys coming up, but you know what this means? Ben, do you know what this means for collecting? That
means prices are
well, one, these guys, Michael Chavis's Superfractor, his Bowman, first Bowman was up for like $12,000, but 2019 Topps update is going to be very well sought after, I believe.
Yeah, but they're going to make it'll be interesting to see what the prices are off the shelf, because they're probably going to make a considerable amount more than they did last year, I think, just to kind of appease the masses, which may devalue it a little bit. But
and I didn't even put this in the notes. We talked about this earlier in DMs this week as we talk about these prospects coming up. The Acuna, that's an update of 18, his base rookie card. It's not the short print that was in Series 2, which I look at. It's a short print, but that was the first one he had anyway. We got in that whole discussion. You can check out our episodes from last year when I lost my mind, and then I went out and pulled him out of a pack the day it came out. So like the first pack I opened the Series 2 last year, couldn't short print. But dude, his prices are stupid on the update cards. Like, I was buying them for $2 at the LCS, and I think they're they were going for. What did I say in the DM, dude? I don't even remember. They were a few more bucks than 2. And then you were telling me about Yelich. I think that was our bump.
Yeah, he's up to him. He's been up to $50+ I don't want to say this is the Gary V effect, but it kind of is right now. I think it's more the Bowman effect. Everybody's gobbling up these guys who are having – who's the next guy? All right, well, you can't go grab Acuna right now. You can't grab Yelich anymore, so who's the next one? And then that guy is going to be artificially inflated. And once he gets up to $50 a pop, you're going to go grab the next one, so on and so forth until everybody's just expensive. Oh, hey, I'm going to go back and grab a so-and-so guy that I missed his rookie card. Well, it sucks to be you. If you don't already have one, you're screwed. And that's where I see this going over the next year or two. It's going to get stupid with all these rookie cards.
So I just looked. It was $20 or so, give or take, anywhere from $18 to $24 Acuna update rookie cards were going for. And it's insane. And then, this happened with all of a sudden with Scherzer's rookie card as a Diamondback at update. And he's in the same group. He was in, 08 with Kershaw, I believe, but his was a few bucks. Then he won a Cy Young, and it was like, okay. And then he did it again, and all of a sudden, his cards everybody was like, oh God, he's actually really good. And his rookie card exploded in price. So I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens there with all these new prospects coming up. I like it. It's going to be exciting. But it brings to the thought is prospecting versus the stock market chatter we've seen. So a lot of people took the Gary Vee thing, and I know that Colin and Ryan spoke about this on their podcast about not Gary Vee exclusively said that. He didn't directly say this, but other people have said this, that sports cards and prospecting is like buying stock. So when you buy in to a guy, it's like buying in the stock of a company. It's not really necessarily the same thing because it doesn't translate that way. You owning his card doesn't make him a better player, right? But at the same time, it is similar. As we see some of these guys move up, I believe there's more people prospecting that in the last, I would say, like 12 months, 18 months than there ever was before. Like prospecting Bowman. I want to know what your thoughts were on that.
I think it's like the train has left the station, and it's still kind of by the station, so people are trying to hop on. Again, I just mentioned an artificial market. I think a lot of people are buying the next guy. Like we saw this year with Bowman, a lot of no-name people that nobody knows, all of a sudden their autos are selling for hundreds of dollars. Their colored autos are selling for thousands, and it's like, wait a minute, why is this guy selling for 12 grand? What if he's the next Mike Trout? What if he's the next Amazon? And it's like, I mentioned on Twitter a couple of days ago, I said I would rather overpay or pay the market worth of, say, a Matt Chapman after Matt Chapman became a star than to pay stupid money for Matt Chapman, who's a no-name nobody, when he's in single A. In other words, like a Wander Franco, for instance. Okay, right now I could spend $2,000 on a Wander Franco auto or whatever his current, the current worth is. Let's say it's $800. Okay, well, if I'm a Rays fan, I can't afford that. So let me wait a couple of years, and if it's still $800 or $1,500, and I absolutely have to have them, I'll buy it then. But now all of a sudden, Wander Franco is, let's go ahead and go back to Matt Chapman. The guy's probably going to finish in the top 5 in MVP this year,
regardless of what the established player.
And if I have to go back and spend hundreds of dollars on his 2014 Bowman Chrome, then that's what I have to do. But you know what, though? I know he's a known quantity. I know what I'm getting right now.
Yeah. And I think that's the point. I just think that you look at I was at the LCS, $30 for a flippin' jumbo pack. $30 for a Bowman jumbo, but no auto is guaranteed. And it's not like there's 6, 7, 8, 9 guys we're chasing. It's Franco, then it's kind of Bart and a couple other guys, but nobody really knows. And I'm like, good luck, enjoy it, have fun. I'll be over here watching. And right now is the highest time to buy. Why are you buying now? Wait till the off season. Wait till November and buy this stuff.
I tweeted out a couple of days ago about the fact that either there's a Wander Franco, like there's more of this stuff made than we've anticipated, or I've literally seen every Wander Franco that's been pulled. Because it just seems like in all these Facebook groups and all over Twitter, everyone has pulled one. And that's not the truth. But you personally know my buying style, as most of our listeners do, what I buy and how I buy. But here I am at Walmart the other day buying a couple of things, and I venture over into the card section, and I probably would have bought a Bowman Blaster and quote-unquote wasted $20. Because what are the chances of there being a Franco in there, right? And that's what gets you. A $30 jumbo pack. And luckily there wasn't any, so I wasn't tempted. But that's the thing, is everybody's buying one, and look what I buy. And then that's usually what you see on Facebook too. Nobody says you can pull something out of a Target blaster pack. And there's hundreds of people in there looking at that going, well, let me drive over to my Target.
FOMO, fear of missing out. Now I can tell you, good stuff does come out of Target blasters or rack packs or hanger, because my wife was on fire and she picked a couple good ones this last year, and my favorite was the I got the Smalls auto out of Topps Archives, because Archives wasn't in hobby yet, and to get my Archives fixed, I had to go to Target, and I ended up getting an autograph, which was cool. And then she picked out a Bowman Chrome high number blaster, and it had nothing but the purple parallels in it. And I got all the good guys. I mean, Acuna and Otani and Torres, I think, all purple. So I was happy.
But see, there's also a difference between I'm going to buy a blaster like I would have done at Walmart. I would have opened it. Had there been a Franco or something else, a Joey Bart, I would have, set those aside. But my thought was I'm going to open them with Bentley, and whatever we get goes into his binder.
Yeah.
If 100% of the cards go in there, then I bought him a $20 memory to open. And he can keep the cards. If there was something good, great. But that's how you have to go into it, and people are going into it thinking, no, I got to get a Franco. I go out and open it up in my car. I didn't get one. Let me go in and grab the rest.
Yeah.
Because there has to be one. And next thing you know, you've blown $120 on.
Yeah. I picked up 2 blasters and 2 of the value packs or whatever I think they're called, and I opened them up the night before it got released. 1, because I was writing the review on it. 2, I knew I wasn't going to go out and buy a box this year because the prices were stupid. And 3, I knew my Target wasn't ever going to have them ever again. And maybe 4, I had a gift card. So, I mean, it helped out some of the purchase price, So it was neat to do, but I used to love Bowman. Bowman was, you guys know what a geek I am for flagship, right? Bowman was right there for me. 12, 13, 14, 15. I was living the Bowman life. I was opening a few jumbos every release. And now I'm like, I just can't stomach the price of the boxes for the return that you're getting anymore. I don't see it. So anyway, I think that we're going to have a nice rookie class this year. It didn't start out great, but I think it's going to round out really well that all these guys are there.
So, yeah, our buddy Tony in the throw a quick shout out, too. Tony hooked us up with some big package. He had a couple Bowman cards for me. He goes, you want them? And I'm like, if you need a new home for him, I'll take him. Next thing I know, Tony sent a huge package that included some packs that I let Bentley open, and there's some stuff in there for me, you, and Steph.
Yeah.
So, and it's also Tony's anniversary, number 9.
Oh, congratulations. Happy anniversary, Tony 9. It's amazing.
I don't know. I don't know if it was today or yesterday exactly, but he and his wife are celebrating number 9. So guess what? He's going to have to go all out next year because that's a milestone.
That's a big one.
So
yeah. What's funny is that the B and I, our anniversary of our relationship, I guess, when we first started, quote, dating or whatever, is May 4th. May the 4th be with you. Which, is kind of funny, and she's not a huge Star Wars fan, but I think it's hilarious because I love it.
I proposed to Heather on April 15th.
There you go.
So tax day. That way, when everybody's like tax day, I'm like, shoot, what is? Oh, I should probably buy her something.
And so our real anniversary is later in May. But we're going out to dinner. I'm taking her out to dinner on Friday night, fancy kid dinner. So yeah, awesome. And Tony said, yeah, today is he's spending his anniversary with us. Love it.
He is 364 days, brother, until number 10. You get that good, that young lady.
Big number, man. That's awesome. Congrats. We're hitting 3. I'm hitting 3 in April, or end of May here, and it feels like 30. So
I know. I'm not that far behind Tony, so I can empathize. He's got just under a year now to get her to like cards. That way, it's a win-win.
Oh man, I'm gonna say some words here, and hopefully not make everybody vomit. Oh, that's awesome. He says celebrating this weekend tonight's with you guys. I love it. I feel special tonight, Tony. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. Hero of Sport. As you guys know, it's out there. Ryan and Colin brought a post to light from Blowout forums, and they had like a 4-hour podcast on Sunday. I love the guys, and I know that Colin's posted some short videos recently via Periscope. I think, Ben, you said they were Ivan-esque, the Watch the Breaks. And I haven't done any of those. I do little ads for our show. I try to, if I remember, on Wednesdays to put out there. And think what you will about Ryan and Colin. I think there's two camps with them. You either like them or you don't. They're very brash and open, and they're going to say what they think. And I believe most of it, they speak some truths. Don't get me wrong. But I think some of it's a little tongue in cheek, and I love it. I think they have some really good ideas, and sometimes they bring the way they bring it across, maybe not the best, but I get them and I understand it, so it doesn't bother me. I think and Ben said he feels he's similar in a similar way, right? They just don't, the way you might come across, some people just think, oh, yada, yada. So they came out and had the post about the guy that was running Hero of Sport, and he's a felon, and he was actually stocking the product after he sold it, and some other things. I know, Ben, you've looked into this a little bit more. I'm going to let you roll with this for a sec, and then I want to get into like the graded card issues that it's brought up as well. But give us a little background on this Hero of Sport thing and what's going on there.
So in a nutshell, it came out in 2012. They were packed out in boxes that were pre-packed with graded cards or points. You got 4 cards in a box. I believe they retailed for somewhere in the 400s. A few breakers were breaking them for $125 a spot, and then you either got slot 1, 2, 3, or 4. Each card was graded. The points, the way they worked, were they were cumulative over a period of time, and whoever had the most points after the expiration would get like a autographed 1927 Yankees baseball. Number 2 would get a game used Lou Gehrig bat. Number 3 would be a graded 52 mantle. I think like the top 5 or 10 point winners got products. So there were a couple of breakers, one of which was Sam Smith of Cardsmith's Break, who literally quit his state job with the state of California, a cushy job with great benefits and a great retirement to break this product. He's a local guy to the greater metro Sacramento area, but he's breaking this stuff every night. And so that's kind of where he made his name. And I guess some of the stuff has resurfaced recently, and that's where Colin went on his tangent. And I'll let you get into the trim portion here in just a moment, but essentially it involves a couple of different people, one of which was Boomo, who's an absolute clown in the hobby. But without getting too much into him, apparently he and his financier were opening some of this product, and the financier was actually winning the best card in the box. And because this stuff is pre-packaged intentionally, of course, whoever opened it, I mean, if I'm opening a box with Tim, I'm going to know where all the good stuff is. So if I said I want cards 1 and 4, you get 2 and 3, I know I'm getting the good stuff. It's not like Topps and Panini and Upper Deck and Leaf where it's supposed to be completely random and nobody knows what's in what packs. This stuff was pre-packed, yes, by a felon. And Colin says there was a lot of financial kickbacks going back and forth. As far as I understand it, it goes into what's going on now with PWCC with the trim cards, if I'm understanding it correctly.
Yeah, and I believe, there's a lot on this. Sports Card Radio posted an article about fake trimmed, altered, graded cards by PSA and BGS. They go through a bunch of stuff, and then it says most scammers, trimmers, and cheats submit their cards to eBay consigners, PWCC Marketplace, or Probstein 123 to sell. It goes on, and a lot of this stuff was pulled from like somebody that was doing. And if you listen to their podcast, they came out on Sunday. They go into pretty good detail on it, but from a blowout post, and they give some examples of cards that have been graded by these two big companies that have been trimmed, faked, or altered. The first ever card graded by PSA was the Honus Wagner Gretzky McNall card, and it was trimmed. It also lists there's the fake Michael Jordan that PSA graded for Vegas Dave that's been popular. There was a BGS Derek 96 Leaf signature Derek Jeter that's been trimmed. There's the fake Jordan 97, 98 Fleer Metal Universe Championship card that was graded 9.5 by Beckett. We've talked about Beckett in the past grading, facsimile autographs. So it leads this whole thing of the grading. Like, how do they know these cards are real quick? I mean, how do you not have some kind of a tool that tells you if a card's been trimmed or not? What trimming is? What real quick? There's a question in the chat. What is trimmed? That means they cut part of the card off. There was a bad side or a corner, and so they took a small. I don't know how the hell they do this. I mean, I'm cutting stuff, and it's all whatever they're doing, but what they're doing is they're taking off a top, bottom, or a side where there's a bad side or a corner to give it a sharper edge.
Well, there's trimmed and altered. Altered is another issue where I guess you can soak a vintage card that might have a crease or a wrinkle, and soaking it can help pull that out. So there's a lot of deception going on, and we're not here to accuse anybody. We don't know who's all involved. We're just kind of going based off of other people's research and letting everybody know that there's been accusations. Probstein and PWCC and PSA and Beckett, they've all been involved. Colin at Sports Card Radio called out a couple of breakers. He called out Leighton, Cardsmith's break. He called out Grand Slam Collectibles and Blowout. And apparently when all this came down, that this guy was a felon and that there was this scam going on to make sure that the cards were ending up, basically they were double dipping. The cards were ending up in the hands of the people that were actually breaking it, and they were profiting off of it, twice. They're getting our money, plus they were getting the money off of that card, which, its authenticity, whether or not it had been altered or trimmed, comes into question. This whole thing blows up, and now you have people like Rich Leighton and Sam Smith and others pointing fingers. Well, Blowout did it. And that's kind of where Colin's piece is coming from. So if you're not familiar with it, we don't really have the time and all of the information, so we don't want to give any false information. But definitely go over to Sports Card Radio. Listen to on April 28th, he did like a 36-minute Periscope video.
Oh, it was good.
Where he called everybody out. You can listen to it directly from him. And the thing is, he's now getting a lot of backlash from everybody who supports these breakers that are saying that Colin has an axe to grind and he's going to benefit financially because of the advertisers on his, he's driving people to his website. And it's like, man, if you guys are pointing the fingers at the wrong person, at the end of the day, there's a lot going on. And when you start to get into multiple breakers, you're getting into the grading service companies, you're getting to Blowout, which has a huge forum. You have PWCC and Probstein involved potentially to some degree. So now you have some of these auction sites. This thing runs deep.
Yeah.
And so,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, it really questions the integrity of, can you even trust a slabbed card anymore?
Yeah.
I mean,
and we've never been a big fan of grade. I mean, on this show, and I've never sent a card into grade, and I don't think you have either.
Correct.
Now, I have some graded cards in my collection, and I believe you do as well. But I've never paid my Buster Posey Bowman Chrome Auto I have. I mean, it's graded, but I think I paid $200 for it. But a lot of the autos I have are Bowman Chrome Autos of Giants and Royals, and I've never paid a huge amount for them, even though they're 9s, 9.5s, or whatever. And I haven't paid the service to grade them, because once they send it in, if a guy loses value, you've spent this $20 or whatever to grade a card, and it's not even valued at $20, even though it's graded. It's ridiculous. I have a Brett PSA set that I'm working on, the tops that are graded 9. But that's just kind of a fun little PC thing for me to actively collect different Bretts, because you have so many. It's like, okay, I need a little bit something fun to chase down, and doing that with 9s has been fun. But at the end of the day, if they've been altered or whatever, to me, it's not a huge deal, because I'm not putting huge money out on these cards. So,
and honestly, I'm okay buying an altered card if I know it's altered beforehand. Now, it's on me. The issue is, without getting on a big tangent, Matt Chapman had a bobblehead recently at the Oakland A's game, right? First 10,000 people. Well, he actually came out and threw gold ones up in the stands. And only a handful of these gold ones were made or got out to the general public. Well, what people were doing were taking their regular non-gold ones and they were spray painting them gold and sticking those up on eBay, selling for stupid prices, 100, 200, $300, right? And some of them had I spray painted it. But the problem is now if Ben buys the spray painted one and then Ben turns around and sells it to Tim, what if Ben doesn't tell Tim that this got spray painted by Stefan? You have no idea. You think you're buying, oh, I remember watching the game and Matt Chapman came out and he threw these up there and I got one now and I spent $400, not knowing that, no, you bought the $30 one that Ben fixed up in his garage. That's my problem with trimmed cards.
Yellow.
That's my problem. Is
Oh, this is a variant. It's purple.
As soon as you buy that, if you resell it, is the obligation and the onus responsibility on you? Yes, it is. But what happens if you don't?
Yeah.
Or what happens if I pass away, right? And Heather has to sell my cards. She's not going to know what I bought if it was trimmed or altered. How would she know? She's just going to sell it straight up.
Yeah, and the only reason that you're dead is because you got some trim and she found out.
That's right.
By the way, we have to send out a fine to Chris. He's late again, so we need to send out that fine payable through PayPal. So check it out. I mean, there's just a lot going on, and the thing is just be smart, know where you're, and also too, this goes back to a big part of it is that he was all over Beckett's website. Hero Sport was all over Beckett's website and Cardboard Connection. So two places that people go and get their consume information about the hobby. Know who you support and who you back up. We've had some people reach out to us to want to advertise or sponsor or whatever the show. We haven't done that yet. And there's a few reasons behind that. One is we don't want to be beholden to somebody that will only say good things. We still want to be able to speak our mind and have that. Two, when we put our stamp or our name on someone, we want to know that, I mean, to us, our word and our stamp of approval, whatever that is, means a lot to us. And hopefully it means the same to you if we say, hey, this is a good guy to go to. Now, like Brent and Becca, Brent Williams, hands down, we've had so many interactions with him. Amazing guy. The show stamps the approval. Personally, Mojo Break, I stamp them as my official breaker. If I'm breaking anything, they're my guy. If you're looking also to buy stuff online, Chris Torres, we've had him on the show. An awesome guy to support in this hobby and to get cards from, right? You would agree. Sport Lots, you've dealt a lot with Sport Lots. You stamp the approval on them. I've worked with ComC. Personally, I stamp my approval on them. But if you stamp the wrong guy, it can come back and bite you in the behind because you stood behind them and you supported them when maybe they weren't being the most trustworthy. So it's know your guys, have those interactions and those conversations with, if you stand with them, that they know.
And with somebody like Chris, as great of a guy as he is, and yeah, we absolutely endorse him 100%. But everybody's going to have their own interaction with him. You get to know Chris. If you've never dealt with him, get to know him. Buy something from CRT Sports Cards. Develop your own rapport and relationship with him, and then you'll be like, yeah, what the guy said about him is right, because his integrity and his interactions and communications is upstanding. That's why we do support him, and we call him a friend. And if anybody's out there and they've never done business with him, and they choose to do so, then you'll be like, yeah, now I get that as well, and I too will also endorse him. And that's how these reputations are built. We go back to Colin. Colin had something really nice to say about Mojo. He's talking negative about all these other people in this whole big scam, and he's like, do like Mojo. These guys aren't desperate. They get on, they sell their product, they open their product, they ship their product. Everything is Class A. Those are Colin's words, not mine. Of course, we also support that. You know.
Are you still there? You kind of broke up a little bit.
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah. No, and so to be on Mojo's point, even if they have 30 cases of stuff sitting behind them of one product and it sucks, they're going to tell you it sucked. But hey, guess what? The next thing out of their pitch is, hey, we got a case of so-and-so coming up this next week. Let's get in there. They're still going to pitch the product and throw it into mixers or whatever, but they're gonna tell you if it's shit, which I love. They're not beholden to anybody, and the thing is just know who you support. So there's a few guys in like TBS Sports Cards. I think that they're up and coming. I think they're pretty decent, some decent people to work with. So you might want to check them out too.
Well, the B part of it is fantastic.
Oh, to be honest, I was asked in her house here if it stood for Tim and Bianca Scheffler Sports Cards, and I said yes.
Well, if she listens to the show, I'll support that.
I'm just gonna put it out there. There's opportunities to invest in TBS Sports Cards, and the stock is available for BNS if they want to hop in. So, the train is a rolling.
Drink your water.
So we have a little bit of hobby history. We're gonna hop into the Fleer hobby train. Choo choo. That's as bad as my let's get organized.
Okay, settle down. We're getting off track here.
So Fleer, one of my favorite companies as a kid, just because it didn't seem as available to me as Topps.
It wasn't as bad as Donruss, at least here locally. You grew up in.
I grew up in the great state of Kansas. So Fleer was started in 1885 as a confectionery business. Weird, right? Donruss was confectionery. Topps, Fleer, get the kids fat on sugar and baseball cards. I love it. In 1959, it signed baseball star Ted Williams, to a contract and sold an 80-card set oriented around his career, highlights of his career. Fleer was unable to include other players because Topps had signed most of them to exclusive deals. What? We had exclusives in 59? Kind of weird, like today. They also produced a set featuring active players in 63. It was a 67-card set that included a number of stars, included reigning National League MVP Maury Wills and also Jimmy Pearsall. He was like their player spokesperson that was helping them round up some players to sign. In 1960, they produced the AFL cards, so the new upstart football league. And in 61, they actually were able to produce cards from the NFL. Or I'm sorry, with the NFL, and Topps did this well. And the next year, reverted back to status quo with Fleer covering just the AFL and Topps had the NFL. However, in 64, Philadelphia Gum scored the rights to the NFL cards, and Topps took the AFL. So Fleer was no longer making football cards. In 68, Fleer was approached as a company by the Major League Players Association that was recently started, their union, about obtaining a group license to produce cards. So, kind of like Panini, right? The Players Association wanted to make their own cards. The MLPA was in a dispute with Topps over player contracts and offered Fleer the exclusive rights to market most of the players starting in 1973, when all the Topps contracts would expire. Well, so it was so far in the future, Fleer just backed out of the deal and said, we don't want to wait 5 years for this to happen. In April of 75, Fleer asked for Topps to waive his exclusive rights and allow Fleer to produce stickers, stamps, and other small items featuring active players. Topps said no, and Fleer sued Topps and the Players Association to break up the monopoly. There was a few years of litigation, and the court ordered the union to offer group licenses for baseball cards to companies other than Topps. So Fleer and another company, Donruss, who we covered previously at the April 3rd show, were thus allowed to make cards in 81. Fleer's legal victory was overturned after one season, but the company continued to manufacture cards, substituting stickers with team logos instead of the gum. And then Donruss did puzzle pieces. The Muslim family, who was Frank Fleer's descendants, sold Fleer in '89 for just under $70 million to Paul Fleer in Charterhouse Investments. 91, we saw the first release of the Ultra set, which in some years was actually released earlier than regular Fleer, which was kind of strange. They released their premium product ahead. The 91 set had announced production of 15% of the regular Fleer set, and this was produced on a slightly higher quality stock and used silver ink, similar to Leaf from 1990. Fleer pushed into retail chains such as Rite Aid, which really upset a lot of hobby dealers in the early 90s. So they started going out to retail problems. We'll let Ben here and just kind of, so that's a little history on Fleer and where it is. It's just weird. It was a confectionery company, kind of like the other ones. And then we get into the 90s, and Ben, what happened?
So this was really interesting to me when I was reading through the notes and everything that you had compiled for this. We look at Marvel now and see, as Endgame is out, no spoilers. But Marvel's got new movies coming out all the time. To think of it, there was a time when Marvel was not worth very much money and was struggling is really kind of almost sacrilegious when we think about it and reflect upon what they had been, even just 20, 30 years ago. So Comic Book Empire Marvel Entertainment Group Incorporated purchased the company on July 24th, 1992 for $340 million. Jeff Kaplan was placed.
Hold on. That's a ton of, that's what Machado just got from the Padres, basically. But 92? That's got to be like $1 billion today.
Yeah, I'm sure close to it, yeah. But a lot of times when you're buying a company too, Biggs and I got into this recently. The valuation of Topps is, what are they truly worth? You're buying them for $340 million. You're buying everything under the sun that they own, plus the potential. Think about the fact that this purchase was made in 1992. Fleer was only 11 years old for card collectors. I'm sure Marvel Entertainment thought that this was, going to go boom, and that they'd be able to sell it in a few years for $1 billion in 1995 or 1996 money. Jeff Kaplan was placed in charge of Fleer by Marvel. They purchased another card company, Skybox International, on March 8th, 95 for an additional $150 million. Fleer Skybox reduced its push into retail chains to start its hobby bullpen program that committed the company to support and provide relief for hobby dealers and collectors. Marvel entered bankruptcy in 1996 along with its subsidiaries. Fleer was directly hurt by the 94 Major League Baseball strike and prolonged lockouts in the NBA.
Real quick, $616 million in today's dollar.
So one thing that's interesting about what I just said is Donruss also, 94 screwed all of these companies because of the strike.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, as we go through a lot of these history lessons moving forward month after month, I think that's going to be a reoccurring theme when we get to this section. 1994 didn't do any good for any of these companies. And so Marvel, being the parent company to Fleer, felt the after effects as well. Fleer was placed on the market by Marvel at an asking price of $30 million.
So 10% of what they paid for it.
Within 4 years. 4 years later, you're going from 92 to 96. You're talking about a huge devaluation. You're taking pennies on the dollars. Yeah, I mean, it's incredible when you really start to think about it. Fleer exited bankruptcy along with the rest of the Marvel group in October of 98. So a rough couple of years there from 96 to 98. In February of 99, a couple of months later, Fleer Skybox was sold to a corporation owned by Alex and Roger Grass, a father and son duo. Over the next 6 years, they sold Fleer and, kind of probably a mixture of success and failure, along that road. In early 05, Fleer announced that it would cease all productions of trading cards and file an assignment for the benefit of creditors, which is a state court liquidation similar to Chapter 7 bankruptcy. So essentially, they basically liquidated everything. Probably didn't have to pay all their creditors everything they owed, if anything at all. And poof, there goes Fleer.
Who are they now? What happened to them?
So in July of 2005, Upper Deck acquired the rights to the Fleer name, began producing Fleer-branded basketball, ice hockey, and American football cards. The $6.1 million Upper Deck paid for the Fleer name was significantly less than the offer of $25 million that they had offered just a year earlier. In 2006, Upper Deck produced baseball sets under the names Fleer, Fleer Ultra, Fleer Tradition, Flair, Skybox Autographics, and Fleer Greats of the Game, which is a highly, highly underrated product. The last Fleer branded baseball cards appeared in 2007. So 15 years after they sold for $340 million, they were gone. And 14 years after that, they were sold for $6.1 million. I mean, you want to talk about, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, field hockey stuff. Yeah, what's funny is that they made some badass cards in the 80s. Some of those update sets, some of the base sets. We're going to talk about our favorite designs here coming up. But they have a legacy. And you know where they went wrong is when they changed their logo to that stupid like red crown thing.
Mm-hmm.
When it looks so cheap and crappy, and then you feel the cards and they feel worse. They feel like toilet paper. They're so thin.
You know what they reminded me of, getting back into the hobby? They reminded me of the non-licensed cereal cards.
Yeah.
It seemed like the only difference was they had a license. That was it.
And I know that Upper Deck has done a few things. I don't think they've done anything with them in a while. They did, I want to say they had an Ultra product in like 13, but it was not very successful. It's just sad what happened. I know at one time too is when during one of the bankruptcies, there was a dumpster diving that could go on at their facility, and also stuff went out the side door. So
it's incredible to think about how great Fleer was at one point, and the fact that name. You saw Panini last year had all kinds of score, and I forget all of them. There was one product that Panini had last year. It was that crappy product that you hated. I can't think of the name off the top of my head, but they use like 12 or 13 different licenses within it.
Oh yeah.
Chronicles, was it Chronicles of Baseball or whatever it is? Baseball Chronicles.
I don't remember.
But yeah,
crap in my head.
Yeah, it was a terrible product, but they ended up throwing out like every license that they owned. That was just kind of sitting on the shelf. It's like the equivalent of, honey, we don't have anything for dinner and we don't really have any money until Friday, so let's just go into the kitchen and throw all the crap into a pan and see what comes of it.
Yeah.
And but as much as you want to talk, and when I say you, not you specifically, not me specifically, but the hobby, about the junk wax era, man, Fleer had some great designs in the 80s. I mean, that whole era from 1980 through 1990 had some phenomenal
91
designs.
Memorable school bus set. So what are your favorite 3 Fleer releases they've had? So what's number 3 for you?
Number 3 for me is 85. I like the design. I like the different color for the different team. I loved 85.
What else are you going with?
After that is 87, which is the blue bordered set. I think that's kind of a personal favorite of all of us. And I don't want to just say it's 87 because that was our first year collecting.
It looks really good for Royals collectors.
It is. And then they had the glossy as well. The glossy is sharp. If you've never seen the glossy, it's a really, really nice set. And then my all-time favorite was actually 1960 Fleer, which kind of had the corners around it to make it look like it was framed. And it had some big names, Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, Ted Williams, Jimmy Fox, Walter Johnson. And I got all those big names one time for about $60, probably about $150 worth of cards if I had one on eBay.
Yeah.
So it's a really fun set. I don't know how many off the top of my head. I probably should know. But it's a condensed set. I don't think there's very many. I think there's like 60 or 70 of them with that. And that's why I need Steph to pull up that checklist.
Hopefully he gets power back soon. Hey, eat the meat first, and don't let that spoil down in Texas without the power. My favorite sets, my 3 favorite sets, 84 Fleer. Just a fun design. And also some fun cards, because that's the one where you have the Jay Johnstone and the Glenn Hubbard.
Yeah.
So they kind of had some fun with it. 87 Fleer obviously came in number 2. Just it's a good, and I said just the variations and the rookie class really helped out that set. It was like a generational set. There's so many good young players that came out of that set that were collectible at the time through the 80s and 90s. And that kind of always helps the set out when you have a real handful of guys. 86 was the same way, but you're looking like 88, 89, 90. There weren't a bunch of guys. They all seem to be kind of the bigger stars were lumped into that early 87 class. And then a little off, but 86, 87 Fleer. I mean, it's the holy grail. It's what people call the 52 tops of basketball cards. So many rookie cards in that set because they really weren't making basketball cards then. And, you're talking Jordan's 3rd season, leading into his 3rd season with him and Barkley and Ewing and Stockton. And, I mean, there's just in such a cool design with the red, white, and blue. Kind of gives you that all-American feel. It was fun.
A quick shout out to 88 Fleer baseball, the white bordered cards that had the little blue and red specks on it. I think I've mentioned this on the podcast before, but if I've not, here we go. My buddy and I sat there and took a pencil eraser and erased all the blue and red on every border of every card, the entire set, and had a yard sale and sold it to some dude for like $60 as a complete error.
So you're set. A scammer.
Yeah, I was. I was a 9-year-old scammer. Now, my dad found out, and obviously it's a yard sale, so what are you gonna do? Can't go back and give the guy his money back, but he took my $60.
Yeah,
I don't know what Dad did with it, but I thought it was entrepreneurial. I thought I was doing something good, and I planned on selling more. So eat that, Gary V.
One of one set. So also, your dad's actually in the chat too. That's the best part. What did you? Hey Rick, if you can tell us what you did with that $60 you took from Ben the scammer. Steph brings up some really good points. I like Steph via the chat, right? I think he brings more to the show. He said 91 would have been 10 times better if they'd done black borders, like they did the Provision instead of the yellow ones. He said alphabetical and by team, they had the team sets alphabetically and by the way they finished. So they really, and that was a cool thing that they did is like the World Series champs were the first team, and then the runners up were the next team, and then the rest were all by record. So if your team was in the 400 to 600, you knew your team had a crappy year the year before. Which is cool. And also the Billy Ripken F-face card is famous in 89 Fleer.
No, and I wrote a piece on our website about thecards.wordpress.com about collecting and organizing your team sets. And Fleer is the ultimate equalizer. Doesn't matter.
By number.
It's by number, and it's alphabetical. So it's perfect.
So basically, you should only collect Fleer baseball.
Fleer baseball is the set that you would have to collect. It's just that way. There's no arguments.
Yeah. 89 Fleer. I like too. It was kind of in that top 5-ish range. Those gray borders, and then in Fleer, I want to go like, what happened in the 90s, bro? You guys were killing it in the 80s. You get to the 90s, and 90 Fleer is ugly. 91 Fleer is uglier. 92 Fleer was okay with those green borders. And then after that, I can't even tell you what Fleer looked like after that because it pretty much became garbage to...
90 Fleer wasn't bad. Baseball.
Huh?
90 Fleer wasn't bad.
Yeah, it was just had too much white space for me.
Kind of like modern day tops, right? I mean, it would fit more in today's
market. Had a white border with the picture bled out. I mean, this was if I had any laying around, I mean, I think, it's all out by the fireplace, but there was a lot of white to 90 Fleer.
What was great too, I think it was 83 Fleer that had like the dual cards where you could set them side by side, like black and blue, which is a Bud Black and Vita Blue card side by side. They'd have like Ricky Henderson, a dual card where he was still in the base, and then you had to have both cards in order to complete the picture.
Yeah,
which was indicative of a lot of the Fleer stuff in the uh, in the 80s. They had a bunch of that stuff. I've got some top stickers here, but I don't think I've got any that complete that picture. Because Fleer and Topps both did that with their sticker sets in the 80s, but Fleer incorporated that into their base set. The late 80s sets also had a lot of dual cards with, MVPs. You'd have, George Brett with Tony Gwynn, or you'd have Canseco and McGuire and Mattingly together on cards, and which I thought was also a throwback to a lot of the early 60s Topps stuff,
yeah.
where you would have like the power bats together, or you'd have, two or three of the big stars incorporated. Fleer kind of brought that back. I don't know if that was to troll Topps or kind of pay their respects to Topps, but I thought all that stuff was novel. And, Fleer in the 80s was incredible. It's great sets.
Oh, it was. And yeah, it's just like in the 90s, like, what happened, fellas? And now we kind of see, and I think too, like, it gets brought up that that's when 90 was when they started to, push out to retail more. And that was like, we talked about this before. The biggest boom was in probably 91 with baseball cards, where you're finding them everywhere. And it kind of takes us down a different path. I mean, I didn't have this in the notes, but the whole Gary V thing about bringing it back and it being like it was then, and I think I've said this before, it will never be like it was because of autograph and relic content that they have to provide into these cards. So they just can't not turn off the printing presses like they did and just let them print, because all it was in there were base and inserts and nothing was numbered or anything like that. But it scares me, the fact that if we start to see base product hit warehouses like Costco and Sam's, you start to see them at gas stations. You start to see them at stores that aren't selling other sports memorabilia or sports related items. They have like a box on the counter at the register, like we did in the 90s, where you could find baseball cards and you could sneeze and hit a store that had baseball cards in it. That to me scares me a little bit of getting back into that overproduction era. And it's just one of those things to watch out for. If we start to see these trends, be very aware of what we saw back, and don't forget history, because history is always doomed to repeat itself. And again, I'm afraid too we might have a baseball strike coming up, so that could also affect. Now, Kyle in the chat says he's seen Prism at 7-Eleven. Yeah, we talked about that with Cardboard Icons. He is 7-Eleven near his house. He cleaned up a bunch of Prisms for $1 a pack a couple weekends ago. Did really well, and because they're a franchise, they're able to bring some retail product in. And so I looked a few 7-Elevens up here in Sacramento, did not see them. Ask around, they don't. The guy's like, yeah, we don't carry baseball cards or basketball cards. So, what are your thoughts on that, though, Ben?
No,
a new version of the overproduction era.
I mean, we are already in one. Most people have called this a modern day junk wax era, or when you're like, oh, what was the junk wax era? You'll get those sarcastic. Well, it never ended. It's shifted. We are in the breaker era. So it's different. But that's the whole thing. We don't know if Gary V's comments are going to affect the hobby at all. We will see eventually. It may take a while. Like a presidency, usually you can't evaluate it till 10 years have passed, if not more. Same kind of a thing with Gary. We're not going to know for 6 months, a year, 2 years, if his words, his presence had any impact whatsoever. But if it did, that's when you're going to be able to walk into anything, like you mentioned, whether it's a Costco or a Rite Aid We see Walgreens has the yellow parallels. The 7-Elevens and the Chevrons, the mom and pop stores. Are they all going to carry this because everybody else carries them? We don't know.
So
But
it'd just be interesting to see and something to keep your eyes on. Your dad said that he doesn't remember any $60, but he said, I'm sure Ben will scam me out of it.
Yeah, restitution with interest, and I'll definitely find an online calculator.
I need to share my number and my phone number with your dad just in case this summer he needs to send a safe word to me so I can come and bail him out or something.
Yeah.
So, well, that's it tonight, guys. I mean, a little short of a show. One is because we were missing Steph, and he's such a loudmouth and carries on and usually drowns Ben and I out every week. Helped us have a quicker show tonight.
Can I say one thing before we go out?
Yeah, of course. Final thoughts.
Yes, if anybody has any questions or wants to know more about the whole Hero of Sports scandal and scamming, we would definitely like to direct you to Colin's page and Twitter at Sports Card Radio. But definitely reach out to either of us or Steph on Twitter or About the Cards handle, and we'll do our best to point you in a direction where you can do your own research and information. I would start with Colin. That's probably your best resource, but if anybody has any questions, we definitely can try to answer some questions because it is very convoluted with a lot of moving parts and a lot of people involved. And the bottom line is a lot of unsuspecting buyers got cheated out of a lot of money. And right now there's more finger pointing than solutions going on. So reach out if you have any questions, and we'll do our best to either answer them or redirect you.
Yeah, I have a couple words of advice just in general. Personal. This is Tim Shepler, Big Shep PSA. Not a fan of buying and trading via Instagram. Okay. Yeah.
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
Did you see the Instagram? Did I post that to you guys?
That stupid letter thing.
Letter?
Yeah.
Just real quick, somebody bought or traded on Instagram with another person who appears to have been an underage teen, maybe even younger than teen. And when they got their package, quote unquote package in the mail, it was a letter, a handwritten letter that looked like a 12-year-old wrote it, saying that I did not include your card. You're not being scammed, but I thought I was being scammed, so I sent the letter in lieu of the card. And I thought you were a scammer, so I'll wait until you send yours. And once I receive it, I will then send your card out. Sorry if you're not a scammer. That was both hilarious and unfortunate.
I had to read that thing like 5 or 6 times to understand it too. I don't know if it's just me.
No, I had to read it too because it was written by a 12-year-old. That's what I gathered from it.
It's like finding dates. Instagram's probably not your best spot. And you guys all know how I feel about Facebook. Just a bunch of morons. Anyway. And to be honest, Twitter is... People say, well, it's probably not any better. I mean, I've done some dealings via Twitter. I still like a normal channel where there's a third party involved in it that might have some assistance with. Might cost you a little bit more, but I'd much rather pay more and have some guarantees than BSOL. Yeah, Chris says Facebook is rough. Facebook is absolute garbage. Garbage. And you can love it. And Ben, and you know what here? Bean says he loves Facebook. That's awesome. I just personally, and Ben, it didn't hurt me. Facebook never hurt me.
Real quick though, Ken is in a group called Tobacco Row that he invited me into.
That's different.
It's a really good group. So it's one of those things like not all groups are bad. Yeah. Second off,
all murders are bad. Just a majority of them are bad.
The scammers group is hilarious, and it's good potty time reading on your phone. And third, there have been a lot of knucklehead stuff happen on Facebook that we've translated and talked about on the show because there's just so much gold and material.
Whenever I hear somebody goes, so on Facebook, or I made a trade on Facebook, and I just go, I'm like, what happened? How bad did you get? Did Debo come and see you? Anyway, so those are my final parting thoughts. Just be smart. No, I'm not hangry. Actually, I had a wonderful dinner tonight. Some salmon, a little brown rice, some vegetables. Very tasty.
Okay, let's wrap it up.
As I see Heather coming up behind you, looks like she's going to grab you and choke you out. Shouldn't be too bad. Final thoughts. We did those. Remember, we are live every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on YouTube, 10 Central. Make sure to subscribe and review our show on YouTube, iTunes, and Stitcher. Follow us on Twitter about the cards. You can also follow Ben at our trading cards. So real quick, it says our trading cards, so they're Heather's cards and your cards.
Originally, that was the idea.
Follow Steph at Junk Wax Twins, and hopefully he gets power back and you can hang out with us. And follow me at Big Shep 79. Also, check out TBS Cards on eBay. Please share your hobby stories and great pulls and send us any questions our way. We'd love it. Keep collecting, and thank you very much. We hit over 1,000 followers today on Twitter. We are 4 away. I sent it out. Within seconds, we were over 1,000. I think we're like 1020 now. I'm very excited. Thank you. We're over 200 subscribers on YouTube, which I love. Keep it bringing it on. We appreciate it. Thank you so much. This is show 46 of a show we thought we were going to do like 5 of. We're getting close to that magical mark. At show 50, I have some giveaways we're going to do. Yes, and Rick says they're his cards as well, Ben. So you better share. But so show 50, we're going to have some cool giveaways to have. We have the cool hobby lineup shirt to give away. I have a Topps Living set with Roberto Clemente of that full week to give away, and some other things. So come and check us out for prizes and packages and autographed signatures of Ben Wilson. Guys, have a great night. See you next week. Later.